Hello viewer, a warm welcome to Elimu TV where you watch and learn. I am a teacher, Madam Christine Okot. Welcome to the 5th lesson of biology, Form 1. Our topic is classification 1. Our subtopic is on external features of plants and animal, part 2. We had earlier looked at part 1 in the 4th lesson. So welcome. So let us have a look at what we're going to discuss today in our lesson. We're first going to look at the previous assignment. That one was in lesson 4. We're going to look at the structure of stems and different types of stems. We're going to look at the roots. We're going to look at the flowers. Then lastly, we're going to look at the external features of animals. And lastly, I'm going to give you an assignment. So let us start by reviewing the previous assignment. The question number 1 was, draw a structure of a leaf and name the parts. So that is the structure of the leaf. I hope you named all the parts as we had discussed in the previous lesson. So those are the parts. We have the apex, we have margin, we have the veins, we have the midrib and the base. That whole part is what we call the blades. Then we have the petiole and the stipule. So those are the structures, external structures of a leaf. The second question was, name the organs found at the shoot system and at the root system. Remember, we looked at the structure of a plant. It has two parts, the shoot system and the root system. So the shoot system contains of the flowers, the fruit, the seed, the leaf, and the stem, while the root system only consists of a root. So it's the only organ which is found in the root system. So let us start by looking at a stem. In the other lesson, we looked at the leaves, the structure of the leaf and all that. So today we're going to look at the stem. So what is a stem? A stem, this is the part of a plant that bears the leaves, the branches and the flower. So it is the immediate part just after the root. So after the root is where you get the stem. So the main features of the stem are the leaves, auxiliary buds, the terminal buds, the nodes, the internodes and the scale leaves. So in our illustration, it just shows a part of a stem. So the plants have different types of stems. We are going to look at each of them. We have the stolon, we have the tubers, we have the twining stems, we have the bulb, and we have the rhizomes. We're going to look at each of these stems. So the first stem we're going to look at is what we call the stolon. So what are the stolons? These are the stems which grow at the soil surface or just below the ground that form the adventitious roots at the nodes and the new plants from the buds. So if you look at the illustration, you can be able to see the stolon. So these are the stems, they just grow above the ground. So that is an example. You can see the stolon, the adventitious roots which are there. So the stolon, they are sometimes also called the runners. So you can either call them the stolon or the runners stem. Looking at the second type of stem is what we call the tubers, very common in the potatoes. So these are enlarged, fleshy underground stems structures in some plant species. They are used as storage organs for the nutrients. If you look at the illustrations, we have the tubers. They are normally under the ground where the roots are also found. So above the ground you have the shoot system, while below the ground you have the tubers, and they are used as storage of food material for the plants. So an example there we have the potatoes. Another example of a stem is what we call the rhizome. So this is a continuous growing, horizontally underground stem that puts out the lateral shoots and the adventitious roots at interval. So looking at our illustration, you can locate where the rhizome is. It's just above the ground. It's a continuous growing of the root. So an example of a plant that normally has the rhizome is the ginger. So another example of a stem is a bulb. As you can see in the illustration, It's normally common in the onion and the garlic species. So this is a short stem with fleshy leaves or leaves based that function as food storage organs. So you have the bulb, as you can see there. The leaves, they are used as now the storage organs. You have the stem there, the whitish part that you see when you cut the onion cross-sectionally. You see the whitish part there, that is the stem. Then the leaves are the ones which are going to be used now as the storage organs in that plant. Another interesting type of stem is what we call the twining stems. We can also call them the climbing stems. So these are stems that climb. They wind around the supports in a clockwise manner or in anti-clockwise manner. They depend on the species until they reach their full light. So most of these plants, they will be climbing or twining around a support system so that they can reach up where there is a source of light. So a common example of a climbing stem is in the passion fruit. As you can see in the example, the stems are very soft. That's why they can easily coil themselves around the support system. So we have looked at the stems. Now let us go to the roots. Remember, we are still looking at the external features of the plant. So in roots, we have different types of roots. We have the fibrous root system, we have the taproot, the two, they are commonly known. We have the prop roots and we have the adventitious root. Now we're going to look at each type of root and we identify them. So the first root you're going to look at, very common, is what we call the taproot. So these ones, they consist of a single main primary root with lateral branches arising from it. So the long primary roots, it will grow vertically downward into the soil. It has always to grow downwards. It is found in dicot plants like the pea, the castor, the mango, the gram, and the beans. So this type of root, it just has one main root, the main root. Then there will be some branches like the second roots which are emanating from the main root. So we have the primary root, the main one. Then we have the secondary roots. Then you can still have the tertiary roots, but you have the main root system. So another example of a root commonly known is what we call the fibrous root system. So these ones are common in the monocotyledons. This is a root system that is made up of many thread-like members or more or less equally length. So there is no main root here. The roots will just emanate from all the parts, underground the parts of the plant. So there is no main root here. That's the difference between the taproot and the fibrous root. So this one is common in grass. Another type of root is what we call the adventitious root. They do not form from the roots or the root branches, but they form from the stem. So looking at the illustration, maybe you have come across this type of root and you see it's very unique, and so you can see it does not come from the underground. The branches are the ones which will produce the roots. So the roots will come from the branches, then they are going downwards. So we have different types of the adventitious roots. For example, we have the seminal roots. So these are the adventitious roots forming at the base of the seedling stem. The seminal roots are adventitious because they do not emerge from another root. So this one will not emerge from any other root. Then we have another type still among the adventitious roots. We have the prop roots. In the young corn plant, they soon after germination, the prop roots develop on the stem just above the soil. So the prop roots, they support the plants and absorb water and mineral. So this type of root, mainly they just support the plants and they just come from the stem. So they are not formed from under the ground. Then another part of another type of adventitious root, we have the aerial roots. Just from the word aerial, it means that is air. So these roots are exposed to the air. They extend down from branches into the soil. So they hold up branches of a tree and absorb water and nutrients. So in English, aerial roots, they enable the ivy to cling to the sides of the building. So these types of aerial roots, mostly they are from the branches and they are exposed to the air. So another type of root is what we call the buttress root. So a tree root that extends above the ground as a plate, like outgrowth of the trunk, they supporting the trees. So buttress roots are mainly found in the trees or in the tropical rainforest. Looking at our illustration, I believe that some of you who have already come across these types of trees or this type of roots, you have seen a tree that has protruding or outward root system. So these are what we call the buttress roots. So now we have looked at the stems, we have looked at the roots. Still looking at the external features of the plants, we have now the flowers. So we have a variety of flowers that form within the plant. They are of various shapes, they are of various colors. There's a lot of diversity in plants. For example, we have the rose flowers, we have the bougainvillea, we have the sunflower. There are so many species of flower. Then we also have the fruits. There are so many types of fruits that come from the plant. We have the fleshy fruits and we have the dry fruits. So here is just a list, an example of the fruits that are found from the plants. So that we have been discussing about the external features of the plants. Now, regarding the external features of the animals, we're going to show you a video and you're going to summarize the external features of the animal using the video. So be keen while studying the video. You're going to identify the features, the external features of these animals.
Fun animal facts. Alligator. Did you know that the jaw muscles that alligators use for biting and closing their mouth are very strong? However, the muscles an alligator uses to open its mouth are weak. A human could hold their jaw shut with his bare hands or a piece of duct tape. Alligators can't move their tongues and have to raise their heads to swallow. Bear. Did you know bears hibernate for 4 to 7 months? If a grizzly bear is pregnant and goes into hibernation, it will deliver its cubs, sometimes up to 3 cubs, while in hibernation. The mother bear doesn't even wake up. The tiny cub knows to nurse from its mother the first few months until spring, when the mother bear wakes up. Cubs nurse for the first year, but stay with their mothers for 3 years. Giraffe. An adult giraffe's heart is 2 feet long and weighs about 20 pounds. A giraffe's tongue is almost 2 feet long. Giraffes can't cough, and they use their markings to camouflage themselves among the trees. Just like human fingerprints, each giraffe marking is completely unique. No 2 giraffes have the same pattern. Hippopotamus. Did you know that the name hippopotamus means river horse? The common hippo can be 13 feet long and 5 feet tall and weigh up to 3.5 tons. That's 7,000 pounds. They can hold their breath underwater for up to 5 minutes. Lions. Did you know that lions sleep for 16 to 20 hours a day? When they aren't sleeping, the boy lions guard the baby lions, while girl lions do the hunting. A lion's roar can be heard up to 8 miles away, and that's how they let each other know where they are. Rhinoceros. Rhinos are herbivores, so they only eat plants. They look like they have thick skin, but it's actually really sensitive. They like to roll around in the mud to protect them from sunburns and other bugs. Baby rhinos weigh over 100 pounds, and adults can weigh up to 1,500 pounds. Tigers. Did you know that tigers are the biggest species of the cat family? They like to do things alone, so they hunt alone, they sleep alone, and for most of their lives, they live alone. Tigers can swim extremely long distances, as many as 18 miles in one day. Anteater. Did you know that anteaters don't have any teeth? To eat, they only use their 2-foot-long tongues and their sticky saliva. They use their claws to open up anthills and find their quarry not by sight but by smell because they have terrible eyesight. Elephant. Elephants spend up to 18 hours per day eating. In one day, they drink about 50 gallons and eat about 400 pounds of food. An elephant only sleeps an average of 2 hours during a day. Flamingos. Flamingos often rest on one leg in the shallows of water. This position is very comfortable for them because it greatly reduces the amount of body heat they lose in the cool water. Sometimes they also sit down on land, especially during the hatching period, so that they can keep their eggs warm. Their pink or reddish color comes from the food they eat. Flamingos eat with their head upside down in the water, so they can suck water and food in with the front of their bill. Mud and water drain out the back of the bill. Flamingos hold their breath when they eat. Geese. Did you know that geese fly in a V shape because it makes it easier for them to fly for a long time? When they're flying, geese in the back will honk to cheer on the geese at the front. Baby geese are called goslings. When they're just 1 day old, they can swim 30 feet underwater. That's pretty deep. Gorilla. Gorillas live in groups called a troop, and there's an average of 5 to 9 gorillas in each troop. The head of the troop is called a silverback, and it's always an adult male. Did you know that the arms of a gorilla are longer than its legs? Each gorilla builds its own nest or sleeping platform. However, a nest is not used for more than one night. Koala. Did you know that koala bears are marsupials? This means they can carry their young in a pouch, just like a kangaroo. A newborn koala is less than 1 inch long. It stays in its mother's pouch the first 6 months. Did you know that the word bear was added to koalas only because they look like teddy bears? They're not actually related to the bear family.
Cows. Did you know that cows spend about 8 hours each day eating? That's a lot of eating, and that's why they make about 25 gallons of saliva each day. Did you also know that cows only have teeth on their bottom of their mouth? They have no upper teeth. Did you know that cows can sleep while standing up? Pigs. Pigs are probably a lot cleaner than you think. They don't have any sweat glands, so they don't sweat at all. But they do roll around in the mud. They do that to keep themselves cool and to keep bugs and insects off their bodies. A pig's best sense is its sense of smell. It is so sensitive it can smell food a couple of feet underground. Did you know that a pig only has 4 toes for each hoof? But when they walk, they only use 2 of those toes. Horses. Horses stand while they're asleep, and they only sleep for about 2.5 to 3 hours a day. Horses can drink up to 10 gallons of water a day. And horses cannot breathe through their mouth, only through their nose. Did you know, after being born, it only takes, as a baby horse, only 1 to 2 hours to stand up and walk? The smallest pony in history was named Little Pumpkin. He stood only 14 inches and weighed 20 pounds. Ducks. Ducks swim so well because of their webbed feet. Their webbed feet is also the reason they waddle when they walk. Ducks also have a special oil-producing gland that makes their feathers waterproof. Did you know that ducks have 3 eyelids?
I hope you have enjoyed watching the video. It is an educative but a fun video showing the external features of the animals. I hope you have identified some, and you have also learned some few things about the animals. For example, you have identified or you have known that the giraffe cannot cough, and the lion sleeps for roughly about 16 hours. So from that video, our assignment is going to come from that video, and the assignment will be: list down all the external features that you have observed from the different animals. Then part B, group the animals using the 5 subgroups we have in the animal kingdom. So that has been our lesson for today. Remember, you can send us any your SMSs, any questions, your feedbacks, or if there's something you need clarification on. Our SMS number is 40007. You can write to us. Our Facebook page is Elimu TV. You can also write to us. Our Twitter handle is @Elimu_KE. I have been your teacher, Madam Christine Okot. Stay tuned and see you in the next lesson.